Hello, everybody. It's 1 o'clock here in Geneva. Let me give you a warm welcome. Good morning to those in the Americas waking up early to join us to participate in this conversation, and good evening to those joining us from Asia Pacific. We have some, I would say, a number of participants and speakers joining from the Asia Pacific region. I am delighted to see you all connected to celebrate with IOE, with the IOE Gender Network, International Women's Day 2021. This year's International Women's Day is like no other. As countries and communities start to slowly recover from a devastating pandemic, we have the chance to focus the conversation on the activities IOE members and partner companies are undertaking on mentorship, and how this powerful tool contributes to the empowerment of women, and more broadly, how mentorship contributes to building a positive organizational cultural change towards gender equality. We will also learn about a leading company initiative on gender equality during our 1 hour and a half conference. And what a privilege in the middle of very busy schedules to have important voices participating in the conversation as speakers, but also as participants. We are counting on you to use the chat box and raise as many questions as you wish. I will introduce each of our speakers shortly, but before we start, let me give the floor to Ms. Tina Morney. Many of you know Tina. Tina is the IOE Senior Advisor. She is our specialist on gender issues, and she will provide us a quick update on what IOE has been doing since the last IOE Gender Network event. Tina, let me turn to you now.
Thanks, Maria. And first of all, happy International Women's Day to all of you, to all of us, and happy to be here to celebrate this special day with all of you. I'm pleased to present, the achievements that we have and the outcomes that we have achieved so far in 2020. We established the IOE Gender Network in 2019. We only started with 20 members, but now 2 years later, we have more than 120 active members from employee organizations from all the regions and also multinational companies, which you see on the screen today. I see Linda and Monique joining in from Samsung. We have Coca-Cola with us. We have Dr. Jasmine Begum for Microsoft, who's also part of the network. We have Manpower. Of course, we have Deloitte. Miss Michelle Parmalee, the Deputy CEO, Global CEO, will be speaking with us later today. Adecco, and we also have colleagues from the International Labour Organization. I see Jay here there. Thanks for joining in. And of course, colleagues from the Global Apprenticeship Network, and also colleagues from the Society for Human Resources Management, just to name a few. Next slide, please, Elodie. So from this gender network, we produced 2 position papers. The first one is the recommendation on to foster female talent in top management levels. The second one is on harnessing female talent for the digital economy. The first position paper outlines 5 recommendations for governments, 5 recommendations for employee organizations, and 5 recommendations for companies, all of them very practical, and each one of us could help move the needle on gender equality and diversity. The second paper talks about what are the economic opportunities out there for women and how can we showcase this talent through the digital means. And we hope that these position papers, which is a collaborative effort, by the way, of all members, all employee organizations, all companies, we hope they could help you in your talking points in your national gender equality events. Next slide, please, Elodie. We also did a blog last year, which highlights the 4 business reasons to promote gender equality and diversity. This could also be helpful for you in your own gender events. And we had 3 successful webinars. the first one on improving gender diversity in company boards. And we had an expert there, Jae-hee, who I mentioned before, from the ILO, who presented key findings. The second event was on women in technology, and we had Dr. Jasmine Begum coming from Microsoft to talk about that, and also UNICEF, who talked about family-friendly policies. And we had amazing female CEOs from South Africa, Venezuela, Bangladesh. And finally, last year, and that's very much thanks to Shay, who's joining us from New York, our special representative in New York, we had a successful womenpreneurs event from startup to stars. And this, we had the UN Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, joining in with us. And we also had our UN Global Compact Executive Director helping moderating one of the successful sessions. And we had ministers from various governments. And I will share with you my email address after this. So if you like a copy of the recording of this event, I'll be happy to share that with you after this. Next slide, please, Elodie. Thank you. And we're happy to say that we also successfully organized a training course, and this is in collaboration with UNITAR. I see Amin and Leia joining in, listening in as well. Thank you so much. And UNITAR is the training arm of the United Nations, and we managed to train together with UNITAR, and thanks to the support of the European Union, 3 cohorts consisting of 56 men and women from 40 different countries. And this includes things like strengthening soft skills such as communication skills, public speaking, and persuasion skills, for instance. Next slide, please, Elodie. And this is a photo of the virtual graduation ceremony where we had, and it was tweeted also by Ms. Amina Mohammed, which we're quite proud of. Next slide, please. So for this year, this is my final slide. We have our spokesperson from Kenya, Jackie Mugo, who will be speaking on the huge event by the UN Global Compact. Elizabeth here could also tell you more about it, which is a live 24-hour event. So we are a partner. We are proud to be a partner of the UN Global Compact Target Gender Equality Accelerator Program. We're also a member of the Equal Pay International Coalition. And we had a meeting last month, which talked about the work plan for this year and how we can cooperate better together with other UN agencies, such as UN Women. We are also working on a mentorship program. We're identifying donors at the moment and also identifying consultants who can help us with this. So please watch for this space. We'll be making some announcements this year. For this year, we also have 3 webinars. One is today. The next one will be on family-friendly policies, and the final one will be on women in leadership roles. So watch out also for this space. And we're hoping to secure also the second phase of funding from the EU for the next UNITAR IOE leadership course. So we're looking forward to that one. And one event which I did not mention here, which is coming up on the 11th of March, is this win-win event together. It's an initiative to matchmake businesswomen in Latin America and Europe. So please join us if you're free. So I thank you so much. These activities would not have been possible without your active participation and interest. Of course, there's more work to be done. We look forward to continue this journey with you this year. And I stop here, Maria. Back to you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for your ability to capture in some minutes all the events and all the activity we have been undertaking from the IOE on gender in the last year. And much of what happened last year on gender from our side has to do with you and your commitment and your passion to move the needle on this very important topic. Let me turn now to our first speaker. We turn to Elizabeth Reich. Elizabeth, you are an advisor to the Global Impact Initiative of the UN Global Compact. We have been working very closely with the UN Global Compact on gender issues on the last year, as Tina briefly mentioned, and you will share with us today some best practices of the UN Global Compact target gender equality members on mentorship. Elizabeth, what a pleasure to have you with us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you also, Tina, for organizing this and inviting me, and obviously staying on top of everything in the gender equality world. First of all, happy International Women's Day to everyone. I'm really excited to be here and excited to see that there's so many people from all around the world chiming in. I myself am based in Santiago, Chile, so also having my morning coffee right now. But I think these type of events are always very interesting as it's more of an informal group. So I also really encourage all of you to just interrupt me if you want me to stop at any slide, and I'll make sure to keep it brief so that we also have enough time for any questions afterwards if there's anything you'd like to ask or follow up on, and I'll also share my contact details afterwards. I'll first briefly run you through the Target Gender Equality Program just for everyone to have the main details down. But then I'll be sharing some really interesting data that we have from one of our tools on mentorship practices globally, as well as different good practices that we see coming out across companies from all across different regions. I myself am with the UN Global Compact since around 3 years, and since around last year, really engaged with this specific project called Target Gender Equality. So here's some of the starting slides. I think this one doesn't really need much more explanation, but we really decided together with the Secretary General of the UN that women's representation and leadership is a key area we will still focus on more in depth going forward, which is why we developed this program specifically. Given that there's been, as you all know, years of activism, so many articles, papers, everything coming out, good practices that we're seeing by companies all across the board, but there's still little movement on the top when it comes to women's leadership. And as you all probably have heard this stat as well before, it will take 257 years until we close the economic gender gap, and this stat is pre-COVID. So we can only imagine how much bigger it might be once data comes out later this year. At the Global Compact, everything we do is based in human rights. Of course, there is a strong business case to women's representation and leadership, but first and foremost is a human rights imperative, which we always stress as well. And as I just mentioned as well, of course, given the current COVID crisis, women have been really disproportionately affected, and which might risk reversing the limited progress that we've been making so far on women's rights across the world. But we also always stress that it does provide a rare chance to disrupt gender stereotypes and build back better and more gender inclusive, which is the slogan we also often hear. And against all of this backdrop, last year we launched Target Gender Equality, which is really specifically focused on working with companies all around the world to support them in their target setting for women's representation and leadership, as well as in developing action plans in order to meet those targets. As we've seen from different tools and initiatives that we launched in the past, for example, the Women's Empowerment Principles, which is a framework that guides gender equality action, that lots of CEOs are taking this commitment. Lots of CEOs are putting policies out there, speaking at fora that is really committed to gender equality, which is great. But when it comes to accountability, to measurement, to transparency, numbers are really, really low with regards to companies having concrete targets out there with regards to what they want to achieve in practice. In the first round of the program, so in the last year, we engaged over 300 companies from 19 countries, working really closely together with our Global Compact local networks, but also lots of other partners out there. And it's really a mix between small companies as well as multinational companies alike. And we're really excited to see that there's just so much traction everywhere that we're more than doubling the number of countries that we're engaging with in this next year. And we'll be working with 45 countries in total and launching the new round very shortly at the event that also Tina mentioned before. And it's really countries across all regions. And that's also the key strength of the program, that it is developed globally with regards to the general narrative, with regards to tracking. But at the same time, our partners in each country are running the initiative. So really focused on what's the local differences they have to keep in mind, what specific gender equality challenges that might differ from country to country, or specific messaging that needs to be addressed. And we're also very excited to be counting on the support of this global coalition, which is a group of organizations with strong gender equality expertise, where, as Tina also said, we're really excited and proud to be working with the IOE a lot more closely and be able to build on all the different expertise with regards to, for example, the issue papers that Tina also mentioned before. We also included CEOE, so the Spanish Organization of Employers in here, which I believe is also speaking later today, given also their great work with the Promociona project, where they're not only working in Spain, but also across other Latin American countries. The program, though, it starts with performance analysis using the Web's Gender Gap Analysis tool, which is a tool that we launched 3 years ago that really helps companies across a set of 18 questions assess their gender equality performance in quite a lot of detail. We have almost 3,000 companies from over 160 countries that have completed the tool by now, which really helps us have a strong and solid set of data to draw conclusions from. We have lots of SMEs that completed the tool as well as many multinational companies. And it's different questions around leadership, workplace, marketplace, community. But of course, today, the set of questions that interests us the most is around professional development. We do see in general that only 37% of companies have holistic gender equality strategies in place that really identify areas for improvement and gaps. And when it comes to building a pipeline of qualified women, so thinking about recruitment, diversity in hiring and different practices there, we only see 21% of companies setting concrete targets. So that's one of the key areas where our program aims to increase the number going forward. It's a bit higher for bigger companies compared to SMEs. However, though, in other areas such as consistent feedback loops with employees, SMEs are really strong and usually outperform larger companies in the tool. And here a bit more data specifically on professional development. We see that around 36% of companies publicly report to the stakeholders the total number of women compared to men in different management levels. And we see 24% of companies offering leadership coaching with specific support for women, and around 25% mentoring programs. And also there, actually, the number between SMEs and larger companies, it's quite similar. There's not that big of a gap. And I also want to highlight this second number here on the slide, which is that 35% of companies are ensuring that their professional development programs are scheduled at times that accommodate the scheduling needs of both men and women. This is a really, really simple action, which basically means that before scheduling any additional activity as a HR lead, just double check that it's a schedule that doesn't prevent women from participating as they might be expected to pick up their kids from school, for example. So it might be a simple doodle poll that's sent around within employees or other simple mechanisms like that. And there's several questions like that throughout the tool that seem like really simple pieces that you can implement starting tomorrow already, but it actually quite make a difference on a daily basis. So even when we think about mentoring programs, for example, that's the very first step to ensure women can actually participate in the program. And we see quite little companies taking that step or keeping that in mind. And we also always share this stat by infographic by Catalyst, which really outlines different categories between coaches, mentors, and sponsors. Coaches, usually we say, are people that support you with professional development, often with soft skills, on a very often also formal basis. Mentors, usually the relationship is driven by the mentee, really asking for personal advice, personal professional development advice, so to say, and helping you with your decision making. And sponsors are usually people that really champion you at the top levels of your companies. So for example, suggesting you for a speaking opportunity, forwarding you job postings and putting in a reference letter, etc. However, what we also see is, I think some of these categories are quite formal, but in practice, they're really interact with each other. It can be the same person that's your mentor, that's your coach, that's your sponsor. And also when we see companies putting out programs, sometimes they call it mentorship, but it seems to be more of a coaching style, which is of course okay too. But it's always good to keep in mind these different types of roles that a person can have for you. What we also always stress is, of course, that sometimes the mentor-mentee relationship is not like that, but you actually both learn from each other. So it's not as hierarchical, but you actually also, the mentor will learn a lot of great insight from the mentee that they can apply in their daily job afterwards. And just really two studies from Iris Bonet that she also shares in her book on what works, that I can pop in the chat afterwards. I always promote it because there's just so much great insight and research there. And there's first different studies in the US saying that even though men often participate less in mentorship schemes or have a mentor themselves, they usually progress more. So they advance faster given a mentor compared to women that also participate, but it doesn't actually lead to a promotion or advancement opportunities. And she's drawing the conclusion that often that might be because men engage more with sponsors instead of mentors. So really having these really strong figures that champion you across levels, while women often engage more in the mentorship scheme, where it's more around learning and personal advice, but not as much in direct involvement from the other person you're collaborating with. And what we see in our program, though, as I just flagged, it's that it's not clear lines. There's just so many different types of programs out there that companies engage with. So which I just outlined a few of the categories here. Many companies engage in these one-day events or workshops, for example, on International Women's Day, where they organize a one-day event to bring together mentors and mentees, often, for example, also engaging students externally. Then there's different programs really involving only the senior leadership. So for example, there's a global supermarket chain we work with that really has a 6-month program for all of their senior leaders, where even the most senior leaders then delegate tasks to the mentees to help them see what it's like to work in their position with different lectures and a really fleshed out program. Then what we also see a lot is programs matching senior leaders with junior managers and new entries. So for example, a Spanish company we work with, they saw that lots of their engineers drop off after joining the company. So they really focused on having a mentorship program for the new female engineers that join the company to ensure they understand their experience and are able to retain them afterwards. Then we see programs where you're not only matched with a senior leader within your company, but external mentors. So for example, there's a Korean electronics company we work with that does this a lot and really has their program fleshed out with the reasoning that if you're matched with someone external, you might be more likely to share personal experiences that you're hesitant to share with your C-suite member within your own company, especially when it comes to things like also sexual harassment or experience around mental health. And they're even working with mental health checks, with personality tests and so on. And of course, there's also companies that just collaborate with NGOs or other organizations out there to support them in their mentorship programs. The organization I always point out here as well is Vital Voices, as they're a civil society organization that really specializes in mentorship and focuses a lot on also on impact tracking of their programs. So I encourage you to check out their reports afterwards in case you just want to get a bit more insight on how they're running their programs. And of course, there's also projects engaging external mentees. So for example, there's a company that works with a group of unemployed women in their 50s to really ensure they can hire them afterwards, also just equip them with skills to be hired in general. Or lots of SMEs work like that, where senior leaders are trying to engage with the local community and mentee young women out there to equip them with skills. There's, for example, a construction company with a female leader in Kenya that we work with quite closely that is ensuring she's mentoring young women in the construction industry to pass on her experience. Also, the first question, I guess, that often is posed is, are you establishing a mentorship program that's just accessible for women or accessible to both men and women? And there's never, with regards to any of these categories, it's not that one category is the one that results or that shows the best results. It really depends on the different local context as well. So for example, there's a Chilean retail company that I've talked to recently, and they said in the beginning, they just had female mentors matched with female employees. But after a while, they also added male mentors. And once they did that, they actually had way more applications to become a mentee in the program as well. And that was because by adding male mentors, they really increased the different promotion sites of where they publicize the program within the company itself. It wasn't only seen as you're helping women, but it was seen as a more broader project that's just around professional development. So I think it really depends on, with regards to each individual person, the program or the narrative you're using to selling the program. For some, it really might be more encouraging to apply if it's specific to women and sold as that narrative. To others, it might be more encouraging to apply if also male mentors participate. So it just depends, and you really have to experiment as a company yourself to see what works the best and what resonates with your employees. But the main thing that we're always stressing is that the main good practice out there is to ensure accountability. So what we do see a lot is that, of course, companies are tracking how many number of employees are participating in the program, how many mentor-mentee pairs did I match, how many workshops did I organize this year, and they're sharing that kind of data in their sustainability reports. But what we see a lot less is accountability with regards to checking and tracking and following up how many of the mentees actually advance within the company, or how many of them are retained within the company and stay on for X number of years after completing a mentorship program or after joining the mentorship program if they engage for a permanent basis, so to say. So of course that requires a bit more tracking and inclusion of your HR systems and so on. But that's more of the key data that you want to see, as in, is your mentorship program actually not only helping with networking and fun programming on the side, but actually helping you to influence your numbers that you want to achieve more globally. And then, of course, also a number that could be tracked is mentees becoming mentors themselves, them being that engaged that they want to pay it forward, so to say, and also want to expand the pool of mentors and want to ensure even more mentees join the program as well. So we always really encourage for a company to, when they start the mentorship program, not to see it as a tick-off exercise in terms of, I'm an HR leader, I want to establish a mentorship program, here it is in a bucket, but rather really changing the culture within the company for it to move towards continuous learning, towards informal engagement and connections, but really at the same time tracking, does it actually work? Does it actually encourage women to put themselves forward? Or does it actually lead to increased hiring or increased advancement rates? What we see ourselves, for example, from a program we're running, which is called the Young SDG Innovators Program, where we engage with young professionals across companies and they are matched with mentors, is that while many young professionals engage in the program and participate, also females, only very few females put themselves forward as a mentor. So that's another type of question to see or to experiment within your project. Is there many females that put themselves forward as mentees, but how can you also encourage more females to put themselves forward as mentors? As in some cultures or countries, they might be hesitant to do so, and it's not the most natural thing to put your name down and raise your hand. So when you design the program, that's also just another consideration to keep in mind. And probably learnings that come over time. Some companies launch their program in the first year as a one-day workshop, but it might naturally grow. So while it's growing, always keep those accountability options in mind. So our CEO, Sandra, she just yesterday launched an op-ed, an article in the Financial Times, where she ends like this, with this quote here on the slide. And then whenever you launch a program, an effort, working with NGO, a new hiring practice, always ask yourself, how is it connected to your business strategy? What's the long-term targets? And what does your company's leadership look like? Is this going to help you change your diversity and representation and inclusion within your top management? And it's the same when it comes to mentorship. Of course, it's great and applaudable that you're launching a program, that you're planning on engaging your employees in that way. But to make it the most meaningful, just think through how is it connected to your business strategy? Is your board even aware of this program? And what's the actual outcomes and targets you'd want to see? If your target is only employee engagement and networking, that's completely legitimate and fine too. But if you want to connect it to women's representation and leadership, there might be some specific KPIs that you want to look at. I know I've talked a lot, so I'll stop here and leave you with this quote by our CEO as well. And happy to take any questions. I saw the chat pop up and flash up a few times, so I'll pause here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for your presentation, very comprehensive presentation of what members of the UN Global Compact Target Gender Equality program are doing in terms of mentorship. I want to highlight your your reflection in terms of their program, the different type of programs, the different features of the programs. There's clearly no one size fits all. It very much depends on the country culture, but it can also depend. Companies with operations in different countries, in different regions, may need to adjust their programs according to the needs of their employees. And this constant thinking and rethinking in terms of what is best for the employees, the importance of the accountability, the checking, the tracking to make sure that the programs that are in place are effective and have an impact for the employee and more broadly for the culture in the company, right? Tina, have you collected any question from our chat box?
Hi, there is one question, and I also have one question, if you don't mind, Elizabeth.
Please.
First question is from Tampi. It's concerning migrant workers and domestic workers. I'm not sure whether this is addressed in some way in your mentorship program, and if so, could you please elaborate? So that's the first question. My question is, I'm really interested to hear about, when you said the reverse mentoring, it's a win-win. It's not just the mentee that benefits, but it's also the mentors. Of course, we're working, IOE itself is trying to find some funding for this, and we certainly look forward to any guidance or any tips from you, because you already have experience having this mentorship program. So so it's not really a question, but it's just rather a comment, and we hope, or an ask, and we hope that we can work with you in the future. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I mean, definitely excited to see what IOE has in store and how your program shapes up. And just to flag that from our side, we're not running a specific mentorship program. It's rather we're running this program on women's representation and leadership, where we hear about lots of good practices out there by companies, and are through that way able to draw conclusions, as well as have data available as so many companies complete concrete assessments. What we do see with regards to the mentor-mentee relationship, though, is that that's something that almost everyone always flags, that's side effects, so to say. They go into a program thinking I'm matching a junior person with a senior person, also often between male mentors or female mentees. Then the male mentor actually learns from their junior female mentee their day-to-day experience and what it's like within their positions, the challenges that they face, to then encourage them themselves to reflect and might do their job a little bit differently, or might lead them to introduce a new practice as well. But yeah, I mean, I definitely encourage you also, as I said before, so check out Vital Voices, as they've been engaging in mentorships for so long and have lots of different quotes and impact tracking out there, also with regards to this relationship between those two that's not as hierarchical, but rather a peer-to-peer learning relationship, so to say, even though you might be at different levels. With regards to migrant women and domestic workers, of course, it's something we point out always as key importance within our narrative when it comes to, especially now, also them being especially affected during COVID-19. As the Global Compact, we work with businesses worldwide, We, of course, try to point it out as well in our programs in decent work in global supply chains to really ensure that you do look at the informal economy, at inclusion of migrant workers in your hiring practices, as well as domestic workers. But within this program, it comes up a lot within discussions, so to say, but between companies when they talk about their challenges that they face and their general workforce, their pool of workers to draw from. Or we don't have concrete programming on it at the moment, to be honest. But happy to share any other articles or reports that we often reference in the chat as well.
Thank you.
And lastly,
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I just wanted to highlight as well that, as you also mentioned before, we have an event coming up on March 16th. And also there, we are organizing a mentorship lounge where we have lots of mentor-mentee pairs share their experiences. And registration is free, so I'll drop the link in the chat afterwards so you can take a look, and encourage you to join there as well to keep the conversation going.
Please do so. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Let us turn now to the second part of our conversation, and this is about IOE members' activities in the space of mentorship. We will listen to 4 representatives of IOE members in different regions. They will share with us the activities they undertake on mentorship, their challenges, the opportunities, their programs and activities present, and also the impact these activities have not only on women empowerment, but more broadly in their organizations, in their companies, in their communities. So first we'll have Maria Teresa Gómez Condado. Maria Teresa, what a pleasure to have you with us. Maria Teresa is the Director General of COE Campus. COE is our member in Spain. And Maria Teresa leads a wonderful project called Promociona. Promociona started in Spain, supported by COE, but given the great success of the project, it has other chapters in Latin America. Elizabeth, you referred to them briefly, and also in Portugal. More than 900 women have benefited from Promociona today. And so we very much look forward, Maria Teresa, to your presentation in just some minutes. After Maria Teresa, we will go all the way to the Philippines, and we will have the pleasure to hear Ms. Yermira Abigail Rosas Gorospe, who is an advocacy, research, and communication manager of the Employers Confederation of the Philippines. She will share with us the main features of the Women's Economic Network Project. Third, we will connect with Uganda. We have the pleasure to have with us Fatma Nesereko. Fatma, I hope I pronounce your last name properly. You are the coordinator of the Female Future Program in the Federation of Uganda Employers, and it will be a pleasure also to count with your contributions in this conversation. And certainly, last but not least, this panel will take us to India, and we will have Ms. Lipi Sin, Corporate Communication Officer and Assistant Editor of the Standing Conference of Public Enterprises Scope in India. And she will share with us a snapshot of Scope's advocacy work to promote gender equality. We will have the opportunity after the 4 presentations to have a moment for some questions and answers. So I'll invite all participants to follow carefully and use the chat box to raise any questions. So let me go back to Maria Teresa Gómez Condado, Director General of COE Campus and leader of the Promociona project. Maria Teresa, tell us everything about this very successful project called Promociona. We are delighted to have you with us this afternoon. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Maria Paz. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today on Women's Day talking about the program Promociona that we started 8 years ago and that we consider to be a huge success. I would like to share a presentation.
Please.
Yes. Excuse me.
I can't see the presentation.
You can see the presentation?
Not
Yes?
me. Tina, can you see the presentation? Let's see whether Elodie, Richard, our
No.
wonderful
Possible.
support can help us out.
Okay, it's okay?
Now it's fine.
Okay,
Yes.
you can see the presentation. Okay. I would like to start off with a quote by Cristina Figueres, an internationally recognized leader on global climate change. It's the first time in human history that women are getting access to top decision-making around the world. It's necessary to take advantage of this to bring ideas of collaboration, inclusiveness, and long-term vision to top-level decision-making in politics and business. Despite this, the current healthcare crisis is affecting gender equality. Let's see what effect it has on the position of women in the workplace. Like you know, on the 26th of March 2020, the United Nations warned that in the long term, the consequences of the healthcare crisis will be more serious for women. For this reason, it's important more than ever to address gender issues. Kofi Annan, former United Nations Secretary, says, women's equality must be a central component in any attempt to solve social, economic, and political problems. Gender equality is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. It makes companies more competitive, and it's a business driver. COE is working hard to achieve Goal 4, quality education, Goal 5, gender equality, and Goal 10, reduce inequality. Inequalities in the labor market persist in Spain. In the last decade, a lot of women have joined the Spanish labor market. However, it's not enough as men still outnumber them in companies. There are currently 9 million women compared with 10.8 male workers. In management, there isn't equality either. In 2020, the number of female managers stood at around 30%. As we can, inequalities in the labor market persist in different sectors, above all in the technological and industrial sectors. It's critical to reduce the gender gap. There is in this sector that the best job will be created in near future. In COE campus, the company I manage, we support the transformation of companies through education. It's necessary to develop skills and competences to grow talent in general and management talent in particular. We can achieve this by working in 6 different directions: leadership and diversity, digital transformation, sustainability, emotional well-being, and learning in business ecosystem. Our motto is to make companies grow through people. Promocional is a model of collaboration between the public and private sector. Since 2013, as a result of collaboration between COE and the Women's Institute to promote women in leadership roles. More than 1,000 female managers from 600 companies have participated. This program has gone global, like Maripaz says, it's in 5 editions in Chile and 2 in Portugal. More than 50% of the participants have been promoted after this program. Why has this program been a success? In my opinion, it's because it has addressed the problem that exists not only in Spain, but internationally. It has an innovative approach, cross-mentoring from top managers. It also enables participants to build professional networks and have a continuous dialogue with companies. It promotes a cultural change in companies, helping them to identify female talent. The key components of the program are influential leadership, new business model, innovation and digitalization, project management and agile methodologies. The methodology is based on practical simulation, role plays, study cases, face-to-face and virtual sessions. I'm delighted to have been able to share with you this program that we've been developing. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions or comments, you are more than welcome to contact us here or at COE campus. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Teresa, for this very comprehensive presentation about Promociona project. I will, if you allow me, I will collect questions at the end of the session when we have the four speakers. So let's fly now to the Philippines. It's late for Abigail, but she is eager to tell us everything about the Women's Economic Network project. Abigail, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maria Paz. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone around the world. So I would like, first of all, I would like to greet everyone Happy International Women's Day. I would also like to congratulate the IOE for organizing this very timely webinar, and thank you for making ECOP a part of this event. Okay, I was asked to discuss our partnership, our collaboration with the Philippine Women's Economic Network, or PhilWen. I will also discuss our initiatives in promoting women empowerment, gender equality, as well as diversity and inclusion in the workplace. ECOP has long endeavored to widen the space for women and encourage them to conquer new heights. We are actually very grateful that we came to know the PhilWen. It was actually last year when they participated in this training of trainers for our soft skills development program. It was actually the ILO who introduced PhilWen to us. For everyone's information, the soft skills development program is a collaboration with the ILO. Through this training of trainers that we had with the ILO, the project prepares company representatives, particularly women, to become peer facilitators of their fellow employees in their respective workplaces. So after this TOT, PhilWen instantly became an ECOP member. Since then, they became ECOP's partner in championing the advocacy for women empowerment. We discussed with them the possibility of them taking a very substantial role in ECOP's long inactive Women and Gender Committee. It was after the ILO launch of the study entitled Leading to Success, the Business for Women in Business and Management in the Philippines that we decided to revive the Women and Gender Committee and then they enforce it so that we call it now Diversity and Inclusion Committee. PhilWen serves as the co-chair of this committee. We are actually in the process of recruiting members, conducting a gender survey just to map out the existing initiatives and programs that our company members have on gender equality and diversity and inclusion. The partnership is actually very beneficial for both of the organizations because ECOP has the platform in terms of representation and policy making processes. We have the convening power, we have the members, And then PhilWen, on the other hand, they have the capacity in terms of program development and installation. They have the tools and resources on women empowerment and gender equality. So it's very beneficial. The DNI committee aims to influence policy making, raise awareness, implement programs, serve as a repository of data and tools, and showcase good business practices. Aside from the soft skills development program that we have with the ILO, we are also in partnership with a group called Wadhwani Foundation. We are also rolling out a training program on employability skills. That's what they call it, but it's actually another brand of soft skills. Again, in this program with the Wadhwani Foundation, PhilWen was very instrumental in conducting the pilot phase of this training. This program does not only capacitate employees, specifically women, with the necessary 21st century skills, but it also developed the capability of the trainers to lead and facilitate. PhilWen also supported ECOP's entrepreneurship program for women. Now more and more EBMOs and companies are promoting women empowerment through various avenues. One of which we all know is through the mentorship program. Mentorship is very crucial, very important and relevant, especially in places, in countries, in workplaces where there are few role models. So that's why we are very interested with this. I personally am very interested in this mentorship program. At the moment, ECOP does not have this mentorship program yet. Nevertheless, through the soft skills program that we have with both ILO and this other group called Wadhwani Foundation, we are able to promote a facilitation program. I think this is the first step in terms of empowering women. Through this program, through this facilitation program, we are able to empower women to become peer facilitators that will enable participants to bring out and share learning experiences in their workplace. The ILO has trained 9 peer facilitators among the ECOP Secretariat, and then 6 of these 9 were trained as facilitators of the other program, of the other group, the Wadhwani group. Several ECOP members are now implementing soft skills training. On the first day of the Women's Month on March 1, we rolled out two sessions, 2 batches each for a hotel group and a group of Philippine exporters. So they are now implementing the soft skills program in their organization. In the hope of creating a wider space for women empowerment, these are the initiatives of both ECOP and PhilWen in contributing to promote awareness, building a better workplace, and creating more opportunities for women. As for the mentorship program, I have been given the opportunity of participating in the ITC ILO's course on women empowerment for women managers, known as the Malkia. And as mentioned earlier by Agostina, the UNITAR and IOE's course on gender, women's leadership, and mentoring. So it's actually my personal advocacy. It's in my work plan to localize this and cascade these programs through our EBMO Academy with the support of our DNI committee. Just to share with you, we established, I think in 2017 or 2018, an EBMO Academy. It's actually patterned after the Global Academy, the EYPA of the IOE and the ITC ILO. I'd like to just mention that it was CEOE who provided the venue for this training back in 2017 when I participated in this Global Academy. So after returning to the Philippines, I proposed to set up the EBMO Academy so that other EBMOs can benefit from the training activities that ECOP gets to learn from IOE, from ITC, ILO, and the UNITAR. So there. With that, I end my presentation here. This is the partnership of ECOP and Silwen, and we plan to move this forward and sustain this for the long term. Thank you very much to the IOE. I'll gladly take in questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. Very interesting what you have shared with us about the partnership between Filwen and ECOP, and also the role the ILO has been playing in supporting ECOP with all the work on gender equality. And I think it's particularly remarkable because you're speaking from your experience. You were part of the ITC course, you were part of the IOE Academy, so it's an absolute pleasure to hear from you as a participant, as witness of those trainings, and share with us your experience today and how you have, promote the work on gender within your organization. Let me turn to and connect with Uganda. Fatma, I see you are connected.
Yes.
You will be sharing with us your perspective on the Female Future Program of the Federation of Uganda Employers. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Abigail. Happy New Year, all the ladies around the globe. I'm happy to be part of this discussion. I'll give a small background on why we got into the Female Future Program. The Female Future Program is a leadership development program, and the Federation of Uganda Employers, where it's implemented, is a membership of over 600 membership. Now, around 2008 and 2010, the Federation realized that there were very few women in leadership positions, and especially on boards, there were hardly none. So they carried out a survey to find out why, to inform them on the reason why there are few women. Now, the survey informed us that it was not the lack of technical skills. It was other aspects like family responsibilities, cultural norms, unfavorable policies in the workplace, limited role models, lack of support in the workplace, and lack of role models. So we had started up with short courses, but we realized there was no impact of those courses. So we were lucky at that time. The Confederation of Norwegian Enterprises was implementing the Female Future Program, and they had been successful with implementing it for over 10 years. So we adopted it and suited it to our challenges. And today, and in 2011, we started to run the program. Today, we have trained 227 women, and 35 of those have gone into boards. 54 have got into bigger and more challenging positions, and 25 have left formal employment and they're running their own businesses. Feedback from the employers is that the participants who join the program are the star performers. They're the ones who are motivated, they are self-driven, they are not engaging in the blame game, and they are ready for promotion, and they've got them onto boards. I'll give you a story of one of the ladies who was working with a non-governmental organization, and there was an opening in her company, and she thought she was the obvious person to take that position. To her surprise and shock, it was given to a man. This was a gender specialist position. She asked the management why she was not selected, and she was told she didn't seem ready. So fast forward, she came for the program, and today she's the global gender equality specialist in the same organization. So the organization packages the ladies to be a brand where they care about how they look, they prepare themselves into the big positions. they are driven, there is the presentation skills and how to make convincing arguments. They also build them in the managing their personal finances, which some of them say they've been working for 10 years, but they have nothing to show. So this also builds them in their empowerment and improves their self-esteem. They now take more positions in public speaking. And another lady also had a challenge in presenting her project, which was doing very well. She was the only partner in a group of 4 men. And each time she brought it, it was shut down. When she brought it to the forum, we advised her to approach the different heads of department individually, sell her product, let them see the advantage, and then bring it back to management. A month later, the project was accepted. So basically, this program empowers the women to be more effective in the workplace. They learn to lobby, they learn managerial courage, and the observation over years shows that women need to be mentored in the workplace. It's very clear with us that those who are mentored become more effective. And we've also learned that networking is key. The ladies are networked, first in their cohort, and then in the bigger alumni association of the 227 ladies. And in that space, we have engineers, we have doctors, we have all sorts of skills, human resource project managers. And this gives you a lot of support and information for any assignment that one has. So the Female Future Program is key, and it's a turning point for a good number of those who attend the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fatma. Thank you so much for telling us about the effectiveness, the impact of the program on the women that went through it. You talked about them taking board positions, some of them taking more challenging positions within their organizations or companies, and also a number of them running their own businesses. So clearly, it has proven to be effective. Let's turn now to India, our last speaker in this session. Ms. Lipi Singh, I see you on the screen. Can you hear me?
Hi, Maria. Yes, Maria. Thank you so
Please,
much.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Namaste. First of all, a very happy International Women's Day to all of you. We thank you for letting us be a part of IOE's event on mentoring for women's empowerment. It's always a pleasure to be part of such a diverse group. I will be making a presentation on Scope's initiatives towards women empowerment. I'm here representing Standing Conference of Public Enterprises Scope, an apex organization of SOEs in India that aims at promoting excellence by capacity building initiatives for SOEs. With recent novel initiatives of Scope, Scope has been working towards becoming an inspiring, innovative, and impactful apex body, expanding its horizons beyond policy advocacy, capacity building, learning and development, research and studies, and of course, brand building of PSCs in India. Women empowerment has always remained as one of the top priorities of Scope. As part of its endeavor, Scope, in association with International Labour Organization ILO, undertook the study on women in leadership and management in public sector enterprises in India, based on whose findings ILO proposed that Scope creates a network of champions who have overcome barriers in their careers and given exemplary performance. Also, fine-tuning to the transformations at work in the year gone by, Scope also initiated another study with ILO on the impact and effectiveness of work from home models in PSCs, with the objective to gauge the effectiveness of work from home model in the new normal. This study is still under process. Another study is being conducted in collaboration with Center for Creative Leadership, CCL USA, to assess the prevailing leadership gaps and create a learning module on developing effective and efficient leaders in PSCs, and we have received a tremendous response from women across the country. The Forum for Women in Public Sector, WIPS, created under the aegis of SCOPE, has been created to assist PSCs in harnessing the full potential of its women employees, and its over 30 years of existence, it has emerged as a single largest group of women in the organized sector. On a regular basis, SCOPE also conducts programs, workshops for women at various levels for creating women leaders is a top priority for SCOPE. Steering ahead and celebrating the exemplary performance of women in public sector in India, SCOPE also recently introduced 2 awards of SCOPE Eminence Awards dedicated purely to women on outstanding women leadership and women empowerment. Internally also, as an organization focused on establishing equity and inclusion into workforce, work from home policy was also introduced by SCOPE to bring changes in the workplace. All in all, SCOPE has forever given and asserted great value to women empowerment, as it is rightly said that a woman is a full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform. Thank you all for your valuable time. To learn further on our initiatives towards women empowerment, you may please log on to any of our social media pages. Thank you.
Thank you, Lipisin, for this comprehensive presentation on what SCOPE, one of our members in India, is doing on to promote gender equality. We are running a bit late. The presentations have been excellent and comprehensive. We cover Spain, Philippines, Uganda, India, and I think we have all a very strong understanding of the strong commitment from our members on gender equality and the different initiatives the IOE members are doing to empower women.